DarbyCast, Economics Wednesday. Oh boy, it's always good, isn't it? Pretty much every episode of this podcast, has it not been turning your world completely upside down in a very positive way? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't. You know it's true. Economics Wednesday. Everybody looks forward to Economics Wednesday. I certainly do. And what's this one going to be? I'll tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be a tale of two cities. Tale of two bros, two lifestyles, polar opposites on the spectrum of testosterone, high T, low T. You know what I'm talking about. I'm going to kind of paint a picture. I'm going to tell you about this tale of two cities, this tale of two bros. What does this look like? What does this look like? What does the low T guy look like? And you're saying low T? Yeah, you've seen the commercials. Are you suffering from the effects of low T? You see that guy and he's like, I don't know, early 30s. Can't even lift a garden hose. Yeah, he's a Silicon Valley, he's a programmer. He's a programmer. His name's Jared. That's who those commercials are targeted towards. Are you suffering from low T? Nutrogenics, Androgel? Yeah, Jared is suffering from low T. He lives in the Bay Area. He's pushing technology. He's pushing the limits. He's pushing boundaries. He's solving big problems. But he has nothing but disdain for anybody who's not living on the coasts, living in the Bay, doing cool things like he is. Jared, he's developing an app. Uses the camera on your cell phone, augmented reality. You point it at anything and then it'll match the color with a bucket of paint. So you don't have to use a paint swatch. You don't have to go to Home Depot with your chick on the weekend and say, let's do a little couples activity. Jared's blowing that up. He said, I've had enough. I've had enough of that. Yeah, Jared's linked up with some gal. We're calling her Tina. Tina fell for the meme, the pantsuit meme. And it's been blitzed out to Tina for her entire life that she was told from a very young age, Tina, if you don't work 100 hours a week and have an anxiety disorder and have to pop 4 Xanax a day, you're not a real woman. You're not a real woman, Tina. That's who Jared's linked up with. Man, the guy in the low T commercials, they show that guy and he is struggling. And there's so much subtext to the action in those commercials. You know that his kid in those commercials, that he just says, Dad, you're a faggot. And the dad never says, that's wrong. I'm not. He just takes it. And his wife, she's always on the phone with her sister in those commercials. She's always on the phone. She's like, I have to leave him. I have to do it. That's the kind of vibe that Jared's putting out in his early 30s. Of course, he doesn't have a child because he's been sitting on his sack for 8 to 12 hours a day for most of his adult life. Been crushing his soul, crushing his sack. He's shooting blanks already. You know what I'm talking about. Got nothing going for him. So those commercials where that guy has a kid, pretty unrealistic. Tell you what is realistic though. You know, there's still probably kids heckling Jared behind his back. They see Jared and they're like, you're a cuck McGuck. And Jared doesn't believe in the institution of marriage. He doesn't. And it's like, Jared, why? What's your reasoning for it? And he's like, I don't know. I just got to keep my options open. And it's like, Jared, what options? Jared, keep your options open? The only gals that Jared really talks to are the gals in HR when he accidentally steps out of line and he says, yeah, one time in college I had a beer and boom, HR is on his ass real quick. It's gals like Tina, they show up and Tina resents herself because she's like, why the fuck? What is my life? What is my life? And it's not like these gals don't know, right? they quietly resent themselves, but they're in too deep. They started wearing the pantsuits and they didn't know that they had a way out. So they've taken it upon themselves to exact their revenge on the world through their tyrannical corporate positions in HR. Jared offhandedly mentions, in college, I had a beer once, and Tina is on his ass and says, excuse me, Jared? But that is the patriarchal bullshit that we are trying to correct. What the fuck, Jared? And Jared is like, did you just swear? And then Tina's like, oh boy. Person. She just has to submit her voluntary resignation on the spot because she knows the rules. She's a slave to her own system that she's building. Boy, the irony of that. Boy, the irony of that. The irony of that. Sorry, Tina. So you got Jared. And I'm not even done with Jared. I'm not even done because I know you want to hear more about him. I know you want to hear more about what he does after he sits on his sack for 12 hours a day and just gets told by Tina before she makes a mistake and has to file her voluntary resignation and try to go to a new tech company. What does Jared do after work? I'll tell you where he goes. He goes to that. He's been looking forward to this. Oh boy, has he been looking forward to this. He goes to the new pop-up restaurant and he gets a cricket burger and maybe Jared's feeling a little bold. He says, let's make it spicy. Why don't you go ahead and why don't you ladle some fire ants on the cricket burger? I'm feeling a little reckless today. And yeah, you know what? I would like something to drink. Let me get a mason jar full of spiders. Yeah, would you blend that up with some ice? Put some grilled onions and cilantro on top. That would really hit the spot. After Jared, he can't even finish it. The meal's like 300 calories. He stops halfway through and he's like, I'm stuffed. He goes home, turns on Food Network, some baking show. You get some fat guy who's like racing against a timer. Like what? Why does this need to be done so quickly? And Jared's audibly out loud, kind of like in a whisper. He's just saying, and he lives alone. He lives in this like 100 square foot apartment that he pays $8,000 a month for. But he's watching Food Network and he's just whispering out loud. He's like, oh, I hope he does it. I hope he makes it. Putting the frosting on that cake. The fat guy's putting the frosting on that cake. And Jared's like, oh, whoa, that's dazzling. It's a courageous take on frosting. Oh, look at the timer. Go, 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 go. That's what Jared's doing. And Jared is, he's already solved a big problem with the Paint Swatch AR, augmented reality app. And he says, I need to take on the next big thing. Jared starts his own tech company and he develops a augmented reality app where you can kind of try before you buy in a virtual way. You can see what various sweaters look like on your dog, right? Because nobody's having kids in the Bay Area. Nobody's having kids. They all have their little fucking dogs. Jared sees it and he's like, this is it. Somebody's got to step up. And you put the sweater on your little fucking dog and it says like Charles Barkley, little hyphen between Bark and Lee. And Jared's just giggling to himself. He's like, that's a funny sweater. That's pretty silly. And he hires Tina because he feels so bad that he put her in a position to get as upset as she did to swear. And so she's in HR and she is aging so poorly because of the stress levels. 100 hours a week, so many Xanax. She's using Rogaine. Her hair is just falling out and she resents all of it. And her T levels are higher than Jared's. Her T levels are so much higher than Jared's. Are you picturing this? Are you picturing Tina and Jared in the Bay Area? Are you picturing them? I think you are. The companies that are making these low T products, maybe somebody who works at one of those companies, they hear the DarbyCast and they're like, wow, we should be putting our ads all over the Food Network. We should be doing that. Jared, what would Jared even do if his T levels, he's been so low T for so many years that if he got T in his system, if he had some testosterone in his system, he would just program some app like search and destroy parameters, look for bullies. And in Jared's definition of a bully, I don't want to know what that is. It's a very dangerous situation. I don't want to see Jared's testosterone levels raise after we just keep Jared plugging away, solving problems. We create an environment for Jared to thrive, keep him very low T, keep feeding him the cricket burgers, spicy, fire ants, mason jar full of blended spiders with ice, little cilantro. Keep his T levels in check because he just keeps coming up with such great ideas where he's at. Heard he's working on something new. Heard Jared's working on something that's gonna really change the face of how we do life in this world. Yeah, it's an app. You put your name and your birthday in, and then it tells you what kind of dinosaur you would have been. Well, you probably just fell out of your chair. You can't even deal with the gravity, the significance of that. How much that would just rewrite the way we do business. Jared, obviously a T-Rex. That's Jared for you. And we'll get back to him. But as I promised, this would be a tale of two cities. This second town. What's that town called? Yeah, it's Freedom Town. It's Freedom Town. It's in the heartland. It's in the Midwest. What's Freedom Town like? Let me tell you. And I can't. Jared has nothing but disdain for the Midwest. I gotta get this off my chest before I start talking about the wonderful place that is Freedom Town, USA in the heartland. Jared, he loves chucking shade at the Midwest. He's like, you guys, you aren't even with the times. You guys are all fat and stupid. But Jared doesn't know anything about the Midwest. If he ever took a trip to Freedom Town, USA in the heartland, boy, would he be surprised. And so ill-equipped to handle the social situations that go on there. Let me tell you about a guy who lives in Freedom Town, USA. His name's Troy. You know what Troy does? Troy's an entrepreneur. He has a gym. He has a small open-air gym because he's heard about coronavirus, and he's still, it wasn't always an open-air gym, but he knocked out some walls because he's like, I want to be accommodating to the people because they got a lift after the whole Midwest has been ravaged for years by big soda. Yeah, Troy is solving that issue. He says, get out of Freedom Town, USA, big soda. You're not allowed here. Kicks out Monsanto, kicks out big soda. He and his bros do that. They form a kind of a task force. On the coast, they form committees, but in the heartland in Freedom Town, task forces. And they kick big soda out. And Jared's like, oh, everybody there is fat and stupid, but they're not drinking soda. And then, in fact, they've actually kicked the big soda out. So I'd say that's pretty smart. So fuck you, Jared. Let me just say that right now, Jared, son of a bitch. Picture Troy, okay? He's driving an F-150. Jared drives a Tesla and thinks he's so fucking sweet, but Troy is driving an F-150. It's not lifted. He's not a jackass named Derek, but he's got that F-150. It's clean. He's driving that F-150 20 miles an hour, and you're saying, why isn't he driving faster? And I'll tell you why. Because Troy's friend Brody is standing in the truck bed. He's got about 250 footballs, and Brody is just launching them to random people on a Saturday in Freedom Town, USA. He's calling his shots. All the neighborhood kids are like, they're like, oh, wow, that's Troy. It's Troy and Brody. You got the footballs. And Troy, he's got his window down and there's a nice summer breeze and he's just like, yeah. And Brody, all of his passes, they're just on a rope. He's throwing bullets and all the kids, they can catch footballs. Tell you who can't catch a football. The fucking dog in a sweater, Jared. So they're just throwing bombs. Man, those kids, they already know how to run tight routes. Brody from the back of the truck, he's calling out numbers. He says, give me a 6, give me a 3. And the kids, they just know the corresponding routes. They just know the routes and they run them and their footwork is good. And what's that smell in the air? Let me engage all of your senses, DarbyCast listeners. What's that smell in the air? That's a barbecue. There's a bunch of hot chicks, kind of early, mid-20s. Yeah, they've already got rings on their fingers because those guys in the Midwest, they're pretty honest guys. They do it right. Jared's on OnlyFans.com. He's hemorrhaging money to these girls that he's never going to meet. He has very little spending cash, so little cash. And all these Midwest gals, they're doing fine. And some of the West Coast lady listeners who are like, I'm a career-oriented woman. This is offensive. It's like, all right, whatever. You fucking weirdo. I don't know why that offends you. Hot chicks barbecuing. Actually, I understand why that offends you. You resent yourself because you take so many Xanax. The hell's that about? What the hell is that about? That's what you're asking yourself. I'm not asking that to you. I'm narrating your thoughts. Right? And let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about how Troy really took back the Freedom Town, USA from Big Soda, because Big Soda and Big Burger fast food, they were tyrannizing. The Midwest, especially Freedom Town. And Troy and the task force, they threw a meeting and they invited all the CEOs to a barbecue. And the CEOs were pretty impressed with the tightness of Brody's spirals that he was throwing to all the neighborhood kids. And their jaws are dropping and they're like, wow, that guy throws a fucking bomb. Did he play college ball? And Troy, he's got these CEOs at the table, at the picnic table. And he looks around and he hasn't said a word. Because he's letting these CEOs enjoy the show. And he finally speaks up and he says, all right, y'all, argument over. He doesn't even need to say anything after that. A guy named Troy's dropping it. All right, y'all, get the fuck out of Freedom Town, USA. You've been put on notice. Conversation over. Man, guys, T levels are great. Those CEOs can sense it. They can sense it. And this DarbyCast is kind of blowing it wide open. And so if you're a gal and you're living on the coasts and you're hearing this and you're like, I'm still young. I think I could pull this off if I just moved to the Midwest. What you're saying that the people there aren't necessarily fat and stupid and they throw barbecues? Is that what you're saying? That is what I'm saying. There's going to be this mass exodus and the hot chicks of the country are going to flood not only their panties, but they're going to flood the Midwest because they're sharp gals. They're sharp ladies. They're very intelligent, especially if they're listening to DarbyCast. They live on the coast and they're saying, you're right, man. I've had enough of surrounding myself with guys like Jared. Jared's getting pissed. He's throwing a hissy fit. His estrogen levels are immensely high. They are incredibly high. He's throwing a little hissy fit and he doesn't know what to do. So he takes a flight to China and he just does some opium. He tries to mellow out and he does. I mean, opium will do that to you. He comes back and what does he do? He's angry. He's angry because he thought developing cool augmented reality apps was going to be the way that he would just be drowning in pussy. Drowning. It turns out it wasn't. So he drives. He gets in the Tesla. He rallies up a bunch of other Jareds, some Todds, some Shilohs. And they drive their Teslas to the Midwest. And they take it to Freedom Town where all the chicks are just showing up and being like, hey, do you need a hand with that barbecue? And it's like, hey, totally. Yeah, come on. Make yourself useful, babe. Relax. Have a White Claw. Whew. Not bad. Not bad. And what does that showdown even look like? Tale of two cities, tale of two bros, opposite ends of the T spectrum. You got Troy doing legs twice a week, playing sports, entrepreneur, open air gym. He's got a hot chick by his side. They've been married for a couple years. They're still in their 20s. They've already got 2 kids. Jared rolls out, and in his Tesla the entire way, he's listening to Pat Benatar's greatest hits, Love is a Battlefield, because he feels like, for whatever reason, that song is really significant for the action. Yeah. Yeah, Jared. Turn up the Pat Benatar. Turn it all the way up, Jared. Pat Benatar had some hits. I couldn't name them aside from Love is a Battlefield. You ever been anywhere? You ever been somewhere and Pat Benatar just shows up in person? Oh, you haven't? I have. I was at a charity event the other day. I was at a hospital charity event, and out of nowhere shows up Pat Benatar, and she just starts playing Love is a Battlefield. And I'm like, the fuck do you think this is, Pat? My name isn't Jared. Get the fuck out of here. Like, Love is a Battlefield, not a bad song, but like, Pat, this is not appropriate for you to just show up. Okay? Stay in your lane, Pat. Stay in your lane. And I feel like such a hypocrite right now because I got my picture taken with Pat Benatar after the show. But you're saying, why'd you do that? Obviously, to just take that picture and send it to a guy named Jared and rub it in his fucking face. Be like, Jared, you'll never get this. Why don't you just sit in your fucking Tesla? You press all the weird buttons and all of a sudden your Tesla starts doing tricks. You think that's what life's about? You're just driving with Todd and Shiloh, head out to the Midwest, and you're listening to Pat Benatar unironically. I'm fine with people listening to Pat Benatar as long as they're doing it with a tasteful sense of irony. I'm fine with it. Question that's on everyone's mind right now is, what the fuck is Jared even going to do when he gets to Freedom Town, USA? What is he even going to pull off? What is Jared going to do when he gets to Freedom Town, USA? What can he do? I think we all know the answer to that. It's absolutely nothing. But he's going to show up and he's going to talk about fuel efficiency, and he's going to shake his fist at Troy and say, you're using too much gas with that F-150. And Troy's going to be like, excuse me, who the fuck are you? What are you doing at this picnic? And Jared pulls out his cell phone and he shows Troy. He's like, I'm a T-Rex. Rawr! And Troy's like, what are you talking about? And in that moment, Jared has this, he wakes up and he's like, wow, I'm living a lie. I'm living a lie. Boy, that's got to feel weird. To get so hyped on some Pat Benatar only to show up, do a big reveal of that project you were working on, declare with conviction that you're a T-Rex and not have it received with anything but confusion. You're expecting somebody to cower in fear and be like, oh boy, I don't want to mess with this guy. He's a T-Rex. And he's just fumbling around because that was his plan A. So he has to resort to plan B. So he's walking around the picnic. He tries to find a dog to show some of the chicks there. Hey, you want to see what your dog would look like if he was wearing a sweater that said Charles Barkley? And the gals, they don't even respond. They don't even respond. And Jared the app doesn't even work on the kind of dogs that they have in the Midwest because they have like real dogs. They've got German Shepherds and Bloodhounds and Labs. And Jared had only programmed it for those little rat dogs, little fucking Chihuahuas and Pomeranians that all these pantsuit wearing chicks bring to the office. And they call them emotional support dogs. And it's like, you're not fooling anyone, Tina. You wish that was a baby and you wish you weren't here. You wish you didn't have to take 4 Xanax a day and you wish you weren't mopping your dome with Rogaine. I get it. That sounds pretty fucking lame. It's probably not the life you envisioned growing up. It's probably not. Doesn't it sound a little bit more fun to be a hot chick at a barbecue or a nice little crop top, some jean shorts, but not the kind that these skanks on the West Coast are wearing that they show like a lot of underbutt, like in the way that certain things show off side boob, these shorts that these gals are wearing these days. And you know that Big Bathing Suit has their hands all over. They're getting into denim. And they're being like, oh, let's make these girls show half their butt cheeks, but we'll still call them shorts. But yeah, Jared, it's a rude awakening for Jared because he thought the Midwest was full of these fat idiots. And it turns out it's just these real cool guys chucking footballs, having small businesses, buying everything that's American made. Their chicks are smoke shows and they're not stressed out. The Tinas of the world, they figured that if they didn't have a career, that they would just be these stay-at-home moms with nothing to do. So they would just drink white wine all day. But you think any of those chicks in Freedom Town, USA are just wasting their day getting hammered? No chance. No chance. They're community organizers. They are making sure that their kids grow up right. They have little side projects. They sell some stuff on the side. They've got amazing jewelry that they're putting out there, unlike you've ever seen. Why? Because they're not stressed out of their minds. They can let the creativity flow through them. They're painting. They're playing music. They're singing. They've got these beautiful singing voices. Meanwhile, you got Tina trying to sing anything, and it just sounds like the death wails of a dying crow. Very raspy, very desperate. Tale of two cities. Tale of two cities. When the coronavirus ends, where is the economic revival happening? It's in Freedom Town, USA, with Troy and Brody and Chad doing it right. Small business owners. You know, they all own gyms. They buy American-made steel for their plates. Jared wouldn't know a goddamn thing about that. He loves buying stuff from China. Fun fact, Jared brought coronavirus to the United States. Boom. Everybody's wondering where it came from. It obviously came from Jared. He went on a trip to China. He was in an opium den, having sex with beasts. Of course he brought coronavirus back. Tinas of the world, get out while you can. Move to the Midwest. And honestly, California has been teasing for a minute now. They've been teasing that they want to secede from the union. They've been pulling these weird moves legally, trying to functionally secede because they're cowards. They won't just come out and do it. Newsom won't do it. He'll shut down the beaches, sure, but he won't secede. He won't secede from the union. And if that happens, I'm out. I'm moving to the Midwest. I'm going to try my best to link up with some guys named Troy, Chad, and Brody. Yeah, wouldn't mind that. Having some cool friends. And then you find that hot chick with a heart of gold, and all she wants to do is treat you right. She's never going to lambaste you for talking about sports. No, that's never going to happen. Jared quietly wishes he could live that Midwest lifestyle, but he's stuck in his Tesla listening to Pat Benatar, trying to sustain himself, trying to prop his self-esteem on his app that has told him he's a T-Rex. Jared, That self-esteem is flimsy at best. You get no puss. You're having no fun. Jared's eating cricket burgers with fire ants. Mason jars full of spiders. A little spider frappuccino. And he's saying this is the life worth living. Fuck you, Jared. You son of a bitch. Where do you get the balls to criticize anyone? You're the last guy that should be criticizing anyone about anything ever. Next time you think about chucking shade at the Midwest and be like, those guys are fat and stupid. It's like, have you been to Freedom Town, you fucking jackass? Why don't you just throw on your Pat Benatar greatest hits? Fuel efficiency, just make it there in a couple charges of your Tesla. Maybe you make it out there, right? And then you see, because you watch the news. Jared loves watching the news when he's not watching Food Network and the baking shows. He loves watching the news and all their little exposés and just being like, yeah, the Midwest is fat and stupid. And Jared's such a drone when it comes to that. And he's like, the Midwest is fat and stupid. And that's his mantra, but he has no idea how chill it is. How many footballs are being thrown by Brody out of the back of a moving pickup truck driven by Troy as Troy sticks his head out the window, nice summer breeze, and he's like, yeah. Jared, you'll never have that. Tale of two cities. People are going to hear this DarbyCast and they're going to be like, oh yeah, a bunch of these apps. What the fuck? Like, who cares? Who cares? I think that's just the wake up call is when people finally ask the big question of like, hey, you know, with all these apps, like who fucking cares? I think that's it. And then Silicon Valley's pretty much toast. Are they not? The question is for bros. There's two questions right here. Do you want to be a guy who's trying to lead the charge on developing apps? Like, do you want to be the guy who's grown up and you've played Fortnite for your entire life and then you start wearing turtlenecks? You're like, I'm going to go to the Silicon Valley. I'm going to watch baking shows. I'm never going to have kids. And my T levels are going to be so low, I won't be able to do a damn thing. Ladies, do you want to be Tina? Do you want to be angry? Do you want to be shutting down sports talk? Do you want to have to go up to Jared? Jared's, he's reminiscing about the good old days when his T levels were like actually, they're above like 300. He's reminiscing. He's like, do you remember when Kobe Bryant was just on fire? Do you remember those 2001 Lakers? Do you remember Shaq? And then Tina has to come over and be like, were you just talking about the patriarchy? Or are you talking about, the patriarchy, the NBA, the patriarchy? What the fuck's that about, Jared? And then Jared's like, wait, what? Boom. Tina, voluntary resignation. She's got to move on to the next spot. She knows she fucked up. Ladies, do you want to be Tina? I don't think you do. Guys, do you want to make it out in the Midwest? You're sipping a lemonade, eating a burger, big soda. They're nowhere to be found. That burger, non-GMO, no antibiotics, right? And the coasts had it right at one point. They were like, yeah, we're going to go hormone-free beef. It's pretty good. But then they just had to push it a little too far. And they said, let's have cricket burgers. And they just lost it. In the Midwest, they just said, no, I like the hormone antibiotic-free burgers. That's pretty good. We're going to keep those. Ladies, do you want to be the hot chick at the barbecue that everyone looks forward to seeing because you make such delicious cupcakes and you don't even have to watch a baking show to figure it out? You just know. You're dialed in. You become amazing at painting, writing, music. Your kids, they aren't raised by a non-English speaker. And let's make no mistake about this. Are Tina and Jared making a decent amount of money? They sure are. But are they poor in spirit? Fuck yeah, they are. Oh boy, are they poor in spirit. And somehow they managed to have a kid. Tina and Jared. At one point, something, I don't even know how science figured this out. But Jared and his crushed sack that he sits on for 12 hours a day, and Tina and her ovaries that are drier than the Gobi Desert, they managed to produce a child. And of course, they're going to name the kid Shiloh. They're going to name him Shiloh. And he's going to suck at sports. And he's going to be raised by some housekeeper named Hectorina. And when Shiloh gets to be about 20 years old, because he's going to be a dipshit for most of his life. But when he gets to be about 20 years old, he's going to say like, I don't even know who I am. And I don't think my parents have ever known who they are. Boom. That's it. Jared and Tina, they fell for it. They fell for the meme. They fell for, let's go to Silicon Valley. Let's be big tech people. Let's live under fluorescent lights. Let's work for 100 hours a week. Let's be so high stress that our endocrine systems fail before we're 30. Let's render ourselves infertile because of our stress levels. Meanwhile, Troy, Chad, Brody, they're just hucking footballs, leg day twice a week, T levels, fine. They're fine. They know how to fish. They know how to hunt. They own small businesses. Financially, they're doing fine. It's an economic revival because they're buying all American made stuff for their gyms. American manufacturing. They're driving those F-150s, those Ford F-150s. Really cool truck. Really, really cool truck. And you know what's going to happen? You know why this is important? Because gals, and I'm going to drop some knowledge on you. Let me tell you the case. Females have all the power. And they say, that's not true. And it's like, yeah, it is. It's always been true. It's always been true. Because you are the ultimate selectors of with whom to procreate. And so you've got a choice. Do I want to stay on the West Coast? Do I want to stay on the East Coast? Are these cricket burgers really delicious enough to keep me from getting mine, having a happy life? I don't know. But you are the selectors. You are the selectors of the species. And if you are picking guys like Jared with whom to copulate, obviously you're not having sex. You throw it in some centrifuge. Jared gets a needle that's like 1/8 of an inch in diameter, just thrust into his sack and pulls out whatever's left of his little swimmers. Disgusting. Jared's disgusting, ladies, and you know it. You know it. So California, if you functionally secede, if you actually secede, do it. Do it. Because that's going to spell freedom for all these gals who are hearing this and they're like, I need no other reason to move to Freedom Town, USA. Sign me up. Economic revival coming out of the heartland. They've kicked out big soda. They say no Monsanto. And how do they do it? Task force. Sit down at the picnic table during a barbecue. And Troy says, all right, y'all, done. Argument fucking over. Small business, true slice of Americana. Economics Wednesday. How do you want the economy to look, ladies? Bet there's some gals out there and like, I didn't realize I had such a sway over the economy. You do. You do. And it comes down to who you're selecting, who you're linking up with, how many kids you're having. Comes down to that. It does. It absolutely does. It's kind of on you, ladies. It's kind of on you. I think a lot of guys have had chuckles at this, but ultimately, this should be a rallying cry for these ladies who are like, oh shit, we have to be like pretty, we can't really link up with these Jareds. We shouldn't. Why are we linking up with Jared? These guys suck, right? They're rubbing andro gel all over their milky tits. And it's like, I want to be the lady in this relationship, Jared. I can't have your goofy tits being bigger than mine. What the fuck? And so that's it. Ladies are very much in charge of the economy based on who they're saying, I like what you're doing. I like how you're spending your time. I like your T levels. I like your T levels a lot. Think about it. Think about what our economic future looks like out of this coronavirus thing and realize, ladies, a lot of it's in your hands. A lot of it is in your hands. More so than you thought. All these gals are like, oh, ladies, we've always been oppressed by men. It's like, no, you've been running the show for a long time with a lot of what you do. But somebody down the line, they tricked you. They said, you got to wear pantsuits or else you're not an effective woman. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Throw the pantsuit away. Throw it away. Burn it. Or just give it to Jared. He'll wear it. Jared will wear a lady pantsuit. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. Let him eat his cricket burgers in his lady pantsuit. Low T. Tale of Two Cities. Economics Wednesday. DarbyCast. You heard it here first. Tune in tomorrow.